Greetings and welcome to Flavourful Eats. Joining me today is Lasantha Naidu, and we're celebrating Anisha's first birthday. We're doing a spread of healthy dishes. We're starting off with a no tuna sandwich, and thereafter I'm making a agar or a jello with just fruit with no sugar, and I'm doing a spelt cake. So with that, Lasantha will get started with the no tuna sandwich.
So the purpose of the sandwich is really we're trying to do vegetarian meals, so that's why we went with the no tuna. This is chickpeas that have been ground up. In that you're going to mix some celery.
And the chickpeas is the protein source. So we're trying to make it as healthy as possible too.
A little bit of red onion.
Some relish.
Some sweet relish.
And a little bit of seaweed, which actually provides iodine as well.
And where do you buy the seaweed from?
I typically just get it from Whole Foods, and I mean you can get it from almost any Asian store too. I normally would smash that seaweed so it gets nice and smooth in the whole thing. And then you're going to add a tad bit of salt. We actually got a sour cream.
A cashew-based sour cream, and seasoned with salt and pepper.
Very little salt because you got the lemon juice and the apple cider vinegar in the cashew that will add a little bit of salt taste to it too.
And then the seaweed also typically has some salt
flavoring, yes. So this sandwich is what we're doing today. Our theme for the party was music. So she's going to be making this into piano using white bread and brown bread. It's we used whole wheat, white whole wheat to make the bread. Or you typically bought this bread, right? Mm-hmm. So you can get whole grain. You can work with whole grain meals and whole grain stuff.
And the sour cream you can add until you get the consistency you like or the taste that you like.
So typically in this recipe we use about 1.5 cups of chickpeas. That's a small can of chickpeas. You can boil them, which is cheaper, but in a rush when you have a little child, to use the store-bought can is not, and make sure it's one that is BPA free. The can is BPA free. So we chose one of those kinds today.
So then we're going to put this in the bread. Here I've already cut up just the crust of the bread. We have a small, but you can get any bread that you like. The concept though is to get a dark bread and a light bread too, because at the end of it we're going to be making a piano design out of this to go with our music theme.
So while Lasantha is busy making her sandwiches, so she's basically putting it in between two pieces of bread and then putting that together, I will start making a jello dessert, which I thought would be very good, especially when a child is 1 year old. The child normally has teething problems. So I thought the coolness of this will actually help in the process of, so what I'm using here is just agar, which is actually, agar is a form of gelatin. This makes the thing, it's not, it's a vegetarian form of it from a seaweed, and I'm using a fruit juice that doesn't have any sugar, because we don't want to add any more refined carbs or sugar with this whole process. So make sure that it is a powdered agar, because if you use a flaked one, you need to use a bigger quantity. So with 1 cup of juice, I'm using a teaspoon of agar. So that's 1 cup. And the idea is to put both things cold and make sure that they both dissolve at the same time, so it doesn't clump up. Well, measure out beforehand. Don't do what I'm doing, because you could drop the whole thing into the pot. but I got exactly a teaspoon here, so I can do that. I stir it and then switch it on.
So what are we looking for? How do we know when that's done?
So I'm just basically stirring the both together. I want it all to be dissolved, and just as it gives one little boil, then I take it out and I would place it in the refrigerator.
Okay.
And that's what happens. And then once it gets into the refrigerator, it becomes like jello, which we have pre-done before.
And how long does it need to set?
If you give it typically like 3 hours, I think is enough, 3 to 4 hours. It sets almost immediately.
Okay.
But in order for it to be nice and cool and to be able to work with, I would say 3 to 4 hours in the refrigerator. And that's all it is. So then,
so we had it in a dish, which we had then just turned out.
This sort of dish we had it in, a shallow dish.
It's very much like a jello consistency. It's a little bit thicker. Then what we did, we just took different cutters. Again, going with the music theme, we have shapes of instruments and music notes. And we're just going to cut this and place it on a plate. As you can see, it comes up pretty easily. Just put it there.
And do you think it's a good idea for the children with this, for the teething children that teething?
It's a much healthier option than doing traditional jello, and it is quite tasty as well. And you could even, you could definitely use this for teething as well.
Cool, soothe the gums, like I said, right? And you given Anish a piece to taste earlier, and I saw that he really enjoyed.
He loved it. So the other thing is you could use different flavors.
Right. So we ideally not to give children sugar at all, but if you so desire, you're welcome to add a little bit of sugar. A tablespoon or 2 tablespoons will be fine too, but I'd rather we not give children sugar. They get sugar from everything else. Actually, the fruit juice, even though it's got no sugar, it's actually from the fruit which has got fructose, which is good sugar to be able to digest, much more easier than adding other sugars. But if you feel like you want to add sugar, you can add date sugar, or you could add coconut sugar. They all good sugar substitutes. And this looks like it's about done. Yeah, can you see it's just boiling a little bit? So to prevent that from getting bubbles, when you pour it onto a sheet, you just pour it over a spoon. Can you get me a spoon, please? A tablespoon be fine. I'm just going to place this over here to be able to see properly. Thank you. And we hope that we don't get any bubbles. It's no big deal if it's there though.
So it's a similar consistency even now to the regular
gelatin. Yes, that's true. So this will, typically set in no time in the refrigerator.
And then this was our end product where we had cut the different shapes. We have 2 different flavors here. We have coconut and the flavor we just done, and just placed it on a plate.
There's no birthday without a cake. In this case, we're doing a smash cake, which is we're using the spelt flour. If you want to make it gluten-free, you're more than welcome to. We're using a mixture of cassava flour and some brown rice flour. Here I'm greasing the pans. I preheated my oven to moderate oven. And then I'm greasing my pan with, this is avocado oil. Make sure that the corners are all well greased, so that way the cake comes out very easily. I'm using a pastry brush to do the cake, to grease my tin. I cut up greaseproof paper just to line the tin. Make sure it's fitting well so you don't have a problem when your cake is done to take it out. So the pan is now ready, and now we shall put the cake together. Because it's an eggless cake, we need to sift the flour. So you always sift the flour, but more importantly for this, so that it becomes more airy. So I added 3 cups of spelt flour, a little bit of salt, and to that I'm adding 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Four teaspoons, and then I sift it to incorporate some air. And because it's you'll have some wheat in this, you can always add it in, but in this case it got cleared quite nicely. So you put that aside, and then I mix together flax seeds. I ground flax seed, added some water. There's about 4 tablespoons of flax seed meal here to about a 1/4 cup of water. So I put that into the bowl, and to that I add 3/4 cup of, I use clarified butter or ghee. I prefer this to other oils. I think it gives it good flavor and it gives it a good health value. And then I'm adding I mix that properly. If you want to rush this process, you can use a hand beater, but not when you're adding the oil or flour though. You don't want to overbeat that. So add a cup of, this is homemade almond milk. Basically mixing all the wet ingredients together. I'm sure the children would love to do this together with you guys. And for sweetener, I'm using a cup of maple syrup. A tip here is I put the ghee in first and then added the syrup, so the syrup falls out very easily. So you don't waste a lot of the syrup. And to this I now add in the flour in 3 batches. So today we're actually making a drum cake. I'm using 6-inch cake, so I make it nice and tall, so it looks like a nice drum. Which I didn't tell you earlier on, Anish is actually our grandson, and Lasantha was with me earlier. It's her son. You could just hear his voice in the background, I'm sure. He was very much in the process of helping us today. You don't mix too much. You don't want to, you want it to rise, and you don't want to spoil the whole process by beating in too much. And I'm folding it in, as you can see. And it smells so yummy, even though it's got no eggs, not much sugar. It's just maple syrup. This 1 cup of syrup will actually make it sweet enough that I'm not even going to be adding any sugar to the frosting. I typically like to make a little cross in the middle so that the cake rises well all around. The oven's ready. I'm putting in the cake for 30 minutes.
So next we're going to work on a fruit basket. So again, this is a healthier, sweet alternative and also allergen-free for most people. So this is close to the finished product. Let me just show you a few things though. So first what you're going to do is cut the watermelon in half or about half. You could do a little less, a little higher than half, and just straight across. Then, to get this jagged edge, what you're going to do is just take a small knife, a paring knife should work fine, and you're going to just cut little triangles out. And then you're going to just take it off. So just small pieces of the triangle. So you just keep doing that over, and then you'll get this jagged edge look. Just keep going across. Then the inside of the watermelon, what we do to get little round ball shapes, you take a melon ball and you just scoop out the watermelon just like that, so you get the rounded shapes. Okay, and you can go through the entire watermelon that way, and you just put the fruit on the inside of it. Next we have these little music shapes, again to go with the theme of our party. So you can use just freehand, do a stencil of it, or we have a cookie cutter that we use. And
to do your jagged edge also, there's a tool.
Yes, there are other tools you could use. This is another example of a tool that you could just push it in this way to be able to get it, or you could use a knife. So then again, with the cookie cutter, what you're going to do is you can either, if your cookie cutter is sharp enough, just pierce it that way, or you could use this as a stencil to then cut out the shape around the cookie cutter. And then you just cut out that shape to look like that. Again, just a regular paring knife should be good enough to do that. Then just to give it a little bit more interest, we decided to make some shapes with the pineapple. So what we've used is just regular skewers that you can get in any store. We've cut the pineapple again with the star-shaped cookie cutter. And then we've just put it onto the skewer. We put some grapes, you could put some berries, any fruit that you'd prefer to use, and then just stick these in.
And a fun fact is strawberries may not agree with all children, so you were saying it was a high allergen fruit, right?
Yes, strawberries are allergenic fruits typically.
Especially if a child is having some kind of eczema or something, so it may not come off as a regular allergy, but it can come off on the skin. So you may that could be overlooked also.
So you just put these skewers in, and then you have a pretty little fruit basket, again going with the theme. Now even the shape of the pineapple, you could use any shape. You could use other music instruments or fit whatever the theme of your party may be.
But we thought Anish is a star, decided to use a star, keeping our excitement and interest with the baby. So I've made a coconut frosting, very much like the way I did the agar jello, but a little bit, the recipe is on the website. So I'm gonna just put this into the mixer, into the bowl, and with the help of the this I'm going to be just making into a frosting. I tend to prefer to use a plastic dish. It's not so noisy, but to that I will use a color, and normally I try to go for natural colors, and this is one of them that's good to go. If you'd like to, you could add regular raspberry for red, or any one of those. It's going to be more like a gray. I wasn't sure of the color, so I decided to just do that first. So we're making drums, so we're going to try and get the silver. I would typically put this in the refrigerator again, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to be working on it today. I typically would, it's not as smooth as I'd like it to, so I hope I'm not going to have problems with my gun. I use a frosting gun. I think it goes so much, for me it goes very much quicker actually. See, I did not show you, but the cake came out absolutely flat that I didn't need to cut it or anything. Another mistake I've done, and you normally would put some paper at the bottom so you don't mess your top while you're working. Oh, and I didn't leave any frosting to write anything, so we all know it's Anisha's birthday today, right?
Yummy.
Yummy, it is very yummy. Not the coloring. So you see, this is quite a simple little frosting. I did not add any sugar to this frosting, only because I think, I know that the 1 cup of maple syrup in the cake is more than enough for a child to handle for the one day. So I'm not going to be worried too much about that. So we just go up and down, up and down, up and down. Simple. So I guess the frosting came out smoother than I thought it was.
So if the frosting does come out rough or not as smooth, what do you recommend doing? Do you have to start all over?
I would typically put it through a sieve or something, so that way.
Before it cools or after it cools?
No, oh, you mean while mixing it gets clumped up? You have to carry on mixing until you talk about the agar-agar, right? You carry on mixing until you get the desired effect. So I finished all around, so now I'm just going to be doing in the top.
You want to come up?
There you go. You want to put do you want to put the sticks on? So what we've done here is we've taken a little bit of marzipan or almond paste and made it into a little ball. And you want to, there you go.
So it's just rolled into a little ball. Remember, with almond paste, you do have to work it a little bit so that it becomes smooth and will stay as a little ball. And we've just attached that to a regular wooden skewer, and you can just place it on the cake like 2 little drumsticks.
And there you go, you're ready to play. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anish. Happy birthday to you.